Hey everyone, Mr. Happy here, and in this video we're going to be doing an overview and summary on the recent live letter number 67, as well as, of course, providing my thoughts on any and everything that was presented there. It was a hell of a live letter, 6 hours long, and if you want to see me watch the whole thing for some reason, that's also on YouTube, along with my reaction to the Endwalker launch trailer. Now, we are going to be going through details here. Inevitably, there's probably a few screenshots or spoilers of things that I can't avoid. The launch trailer and tons of screenshots are provided by Luna Minori over on the Final Fantasy XIV Reddit Discord. Thank you for taking all those screenshots. So if you are trying to avoid the launch trailer, I'll give you a nice spoiler warning now. It's just going to be present throughout this entire thing. So click away, and I don't know, I can't even say maybe just don't watch the video because I'm going to have to talk about it a little bit. So without further ado, though, this is going to be a long video, so let's get to it. So first screenshots pop up here. And quite frankly, before even talking about the launch trailer itself, we have to tackle the most important piece of information that came out of the live letter number 67, in that of Endwalker's official delay. It was in the back of my mind for months now. Like, what if they just need another month? What if they just need another 2 weeks? And it ended up coming true. Maybe I accidentally willed it into existence. Blame me, but it has been confirmed early access for Endwalker will now begin on December 3rd, with official launch following on December 7th. As such, 2 weeks after that will be normal mode, and another 2 weeks after that, on January 4th, will be when Pandemonium Savage, as well as a few other things, are released. So, people who are looking to take time off of work for either the launch or the raids or anything now have the unfortunate trouble of needing to adjust their schedule. Now, I, of course, look at this from my perspective. This actually opens up things for me. I don't have to worry about missing the Cowboy Bebop premiere to see if that's a disaster or not. Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl come out on the 19th. I can look forward to doing that as well. Halo was never going to be on my list. That's where the new launch date, I believe, actually lands. The early access, I believe, is the same weekend as Halo Infinite. And I was looking forward to checking that out, but that can wait. So, from my perspective, I'm like, it's actually better for me, kind of, in a few ways, as disappointed as I am. But there's a lot of people out there who are upset, mad. It ruined their plans, essentially. And I'm not unsympathetic towards those people. Getting off of work is always a huge struggle. Raid teams could be entirely in jeopardy of even doing week 1 clears or have to completely restructure teams. And that's always a gamble you take, especially in the last 2 years of taking off for any sort of release date for anything. But, it sucks. Nobody wants to be dealing with this. Yoshida was barely holding back tears throughout the entire announcement, as was Aime, who had to translate for him, as we can see on the screen here. And all I can say is understand that it is tough. Not everyone can be someone who sits behind a screen and tells you about a live letter and just sit there and go, I guess I'll just wait 2 more weeks. That's not the reality of life for most people. So it sucks, but what are we going to do? You just need to accept it is what it is. The story, the game, it's not going to not be there if you can't take off. If you have to wait till after work and you can't binge it 16 hours, it'll still be there. So the bright side is it'll exist. So that's about all the words of comfort I can offer, but understand when people are upset because they took off work and they can't move the schedule around, especially closer to the holidays, where it is a lot tougher to get off the closer you get in proximity to, Christmas and New Year here, at least in the States. So that's all I can say. I should probably make a separate video on that, and I probably will. But I figured I'd at least offer my condolences to people who are going to have issues with this new schedule as it is presented right here on this slide. And that it may not line up exactly with anything anymore. Man, it's crazy to think. I almost forgot it had happened by the end of the 6-hour live letter, and then they reminded us. So then they went through the launch trailer. I have a reaction to this. I'm going to make a full video breaking down the characters we see and some of the still scenes, some of the really cool stuff, and some of the speculation I have regarding certain things that we see here, certain words that are said, what are red herrings, what are set pieces, who do I think has the biggest death flags, especially, because I do think they're there. I think they're fake outs, but I do think they're there. And then it just goes from there. And then it starts with some recapping with the occasional new thing thrown in. They show us Charlene, Rods at Hand, Labyrinthos, Davner. They talk a little bit about these areas and some of their favorite parts of these things, especially looking back at the launch trailer and comparing it. They also just say there's a lot of things they just can't say. they really wish they could, but they can't. And that's just the way it has to be. Now, some people have been asking, so this is the 5th area. We actually see this in the job action trailer. During the White Mage section, we actually see the White Mage fighting something on these floating islands right here. And people are wondering, is this the only zone we don't know about? They did confirm on the actual launch and promotion site that there are 6 new zones. We have seen 5. We've had 4 of them named, as you can see with Mar Lamentorium, Garlemald, Thavner, and Labyrinthos. Those are the zones, and then the 2 cities are Charlene and Radzat Han. We have this 5th one that's unnamed, and a 6th one we haven't seen. I actually think we might have seen parts of it in the trailer, in the launch trailer, and that wouldn't have been too surprising. We actually do see parts of Amarot in the Shadowbringers trailer, which is a dungeon, but still a pretty big hint towards that final zone. There's also a scene from the Tempest in the Shadowbringers trailer, so I'll break that down a little bit more in that. Of course, new main scenario quests. They actually took these descriptions of the main characters also. I believe this is also on the promotional site, these descriptions of Thancred, Ishtola, Urian J, Alphino. Yoshida was reading Twitch and like Nico comments while he was doing this section. He started talking about how chat was calling Alphino a husbando and Alice a wife, and I'm like, Yoshida, stop reading chat. Please stop reading chat. Oh, I felt bad for that man. Of course, joking that Tataru is actually the final boss. True, but it is what it is. And I'm just talking about Xenos. And then officially we have a name for this character, the Lady of Light. Most of us believe she is Venat. She's essentially Elidibus, the same type of being that Elidibus was. Elidibus was the heart of Zodiark. He basically removed himself so that he could partake in Zodiark's rebirth, or in the efforts of the Asians overall. And the Lady of the Light, I at least believe, is Venat, who is very much doing the same thing. She is the heart of Hydaelyn and has separated herself from Hydaelyn to ensure that this final climactic battle. Now, the one thing is, something in her voice as she delivers her portentous message seems hauntingly familiar. I'm going to assume it's because of Hydaelyn, but I have seen some people suggest that there are bits and pieces of the word of the mother present in her. If she is the heart of Hydaelyn, that would make sense that a portion of Minfilia's essence might live on in her. And I'm open to either of those things happening, but I'm just going to stick with the basic Venat thing. Now, this is where they talked about a new feature, and I just noticed that the proportions of this are kind of off a little bit, but you can still see it for the most part. It cuts off a little bit on the left with the way the video is done. This one right here, they actually talked about how they're going to be using a new tool for cutscenes in Endwalker, where they're going to do sections where NPCs are following behind you and having conversations with you as you kind of go through like a role-playing section where you're learning of bits of story and exposition that are being used, and you can actually stop and take screenshots and use G-pose and all sorts of things in those cutscenes. So they just wanted to kind of add that immersion to the storytelling, as opposed to you maybe just sprinting NPC to NPC to NPC, having these pieces that are kind of slowed down so you can take in the world and take things in and add some emotion to it a little bit more than just jumping from thing to thing. They reconfirmed new role quests. One thing that's new in this detail, though, we knew we were getting 5 quest lines for role quests. There's 2 new details here, though. Extra quests for completing all 5 quest lines, which we all expected, are confirmed for 6.1 or later. Now, I'm assuming they're going to do more than one of these, as that's what they did with Shadowbringers, but that will not be right away. They're going to give people time to actually level the jobs instead of making it available right from the get-go, and then they'll have it in 6.1. No level 90 job quests. I'm not too surprised. A lot of the level 80 quests are either really good finales or super forced. They talked about maybe in the future developing new storylines for jobs that have new characters instead of just kind of stringing along those original stories that they kind of have up to this point. But no level 90 job quests. They did not really talk about Reaper or Sage and how they're going to work. And of course, the future of job quests for new jobs that, eventually just start at a high enough level that you kind of have to have a level 90 job quest when they're, brand new jobs, especially next expansion. So we'll see. They also took away the requirement to clear role quests to proceed with the MSQ. This is a really weird thing in Shadowbringers. You had to be max level and do the max level role quest to then do a level 79 quest. It didn't make any sense. I was hoping they would fix it in some regard. I didn't think it would be this way. They do say, however, that the role quests are going to be designed in such that if you're doing them as they become available, it's a bit more impactful in the story. So they recommend doing it that way, even though it's no longer required. But either way, you can only really do that with one unless you're planning to level every job at the same time. So, hit or miss. It's going to be up to you how you really want to go about approaching that. Studium deliveries are like the Crystalline Mean, 5 different quest lines for the Disciples of Handerland. If you didn't do those Crystalline Mean quests, by the way, there's some really good stories in the Crystalline Mean. They are not underrated, or they are underrated, but they are not bad stories. So I would highly recommend getting involved in the Studium deliveries and to revisit and do the Crystalline Mean stories if you haven't already. There will also be extra quests available upon the completion of all 5 quest lines, and that is immediate. That is not a 6.1 or later, at least that's not what it says. So there is that. We get a few screenshots of the dungeons. This is the Tower of Zot. We do have this forest, looks to be out in Thavnair after the set piece we see with all of Thavnair essentially burning to the ground. We have a giant parking garage out in the middle of the of Ilsebard. I'm going to assume that this is just a Garlean, like it goes to like an underground dungeon or something like that. We see them fighting through like the snowfields in the dungeon, and you can see that that's probably like a boss arena before they actually get into this parking garage structure looking-esque thing. But not much else to say about that. We do also see this kind of crevice with this, probably ceruleum coming out. Like it's probably just, I'd imagine that's what it is. It could just be like a snow or ice like ether, but that would be weird for Ilsebard. I don't know if this is the underground of that same dungeon or a different dungeon altogether, but it just looks like another it's just a bunch of Garlean crates and stuff. It's a Garlean structure. Now this is getting weirder. So New Trials is secret. They keep telling us Mage's Sisters, which I have my own theory about since we know they're a dungeon boss too, and Anima. But then they just don't want to tell us the names. I think that's the big thing here is all the names especially need to remain secret because they're all spoilers. But normally they just go, whatever. I guess they don't want to include any of them, so they're just not going to name any of them. The new raids, Pandemonium, Asphodelos. So interesting thing, and Asphodelos is a series of flowers, or it's a genus, or whatever the term is, of flowers that are regularly associated with the dead. And so Pandemonium being hell, essentially, is it's a very instantly kind of gratifying name and theme. And he even went inside Asphodelos, and the set piece for this place is amazing. I'm assuming this is like the hub of Asphodelos. You know how like with Eden and the interdimensional rift, we have that kind of like small hub-ish area. Maybe it's the first fight area also. It could be where the first raid takes place, but the way it's structured reminds me of the old normal mode raids, which would have trash and a boss at the end. So that's why I have to assume through these screenshots that it's just the hub. But look at this. This is incredible looking. I am in love with this aesthetic that we've got here, and I gotta know what La Habrea's got going, because that essentially looks like an Amaradian laboratory in the back. It just immediately screams to me La Habrea's laboratory. So, I don't know. And then these cages probably always also held experiments because he was always working on these like machinations of things. But something here he has created. And a lot of people expect the Final Fantasy XI boss to show up, the Pandemonium Warden. And I'm not surprised at that at all. I fully expect it as well. But look how big this is. Is there like a raid boss here? Is there trash? Maybe it's part of a solo instance even, and he's just casually walking through it without much context. But like these statues look like they'll come alive and start fighting you. You know what I mean? That's why I'm just like, just in love with it. I'm so in love with it. We have the new treasure dungeon. We knew this was coming, but they hadn't confirmed what it was actually going to be. These normally release the same patch that Savage comes out, and the Excitotron 6000 is when that'll happen. Looking at this texture, there's a few things to notice overall. He said this is the only screenshot they could show without having massive spoilers. Interesting. Now, first thing I notice is the colors along the side, and I know I shouldn't be talking about colors. They kind of remind me of Rads at Hand, those kind of like saturated colors that you see in a lot of like Middle Eastern buildings, and a lot of it reminds me of that. But other than that, we can see at the bottom left and the bottom right 2 different symbols, one of the sun and one that's like a double diamond on the left. I'm not really sure what that is, but the big thing is the doors. The doors look like constellations, and each of the doors is a crescent moon pattern. So maybe this is on the moon. Maybe this is just something that the Emiratians had developed and there's like a backstory to it. But it's called the Excitatron 6000. What? Reminds me of the Boilermaster with Sid. So, I don't know, goblins or the moon. But the Excitatron 6000, maybe it's an old Emiratian, like, casino? I don't even know. And then when you look in the patterns on the ground, you see these kind of intersections of colors, the left, the right, and the south, all kind of converging towards this north, but none of them are precisely the same. The one on the left and the right mirror each other, and the one on the north and the south mirror each other. And there's probably a meaning towards that, but we can't really figure out much. Then they took a break and they started talking about the new PvP update. I gotta make a whole video about this. I'll talk about it briefly here. They're basically, the PvP is completely up on its head. I have no idea what to think at this point. Crystal Conflict is a new mode coming in 6.1, which will have its own new reward system. It's a small scale mode, but it's 5v5. I think that's a good move. I don't think PvP needs to be beholden to 4 and 8 size parties and multiples of that. I've long said just abandon that. Do a 10v10 mode for like Capture the Flag or something. Yes, I want my Arathi Basins. Yes, I want my Warsong Gulches, but it just makes more sense. I feel like they're better sizes for PvP than 4 and 8. So this one's 5v5. Very short matches, simple rules. It's basically like double payload. I think there's a mode like this in Splatoon, where there's essentially a central payload, and you have to push it to the enemy base. But both teams are trying to push it to the enemy base at the same time. So it's not like one team's attacking, one team's defending. Both teams are attacking and defending at the same time. Now the big thing is there's no role-based matchmaking or actions at all. Distinctive PvP actions and job-specific adrenaline rushes, they made this seem like every job in the game has the same option for what they can do in PvP, but each specific job brings its own buff in the form of an adrenaline rush. That almost kind of reminds me of like, you know, like Final Fantasy VI and Final Fantasy X, where essentially every character kind of has a specialty, like they're kind of defined by that thing that makes them them, like runic or the type of overdrives you have in 10. But you can otherwise completely homogenize everything those characters can do after enough time passes. This sounds like a full sphere grid style thing where everyone is exactly the same, but you have that one thing your job brings that makes you stand out. I need more info on that, because that can be a disaster in terms of fun, but it could work. So I like everything else they're doing, but that has me deeply concerned. Because we don't know. It's the things we don't know about it that scare me. But if they nail it, it'll be good. So fingers crossed on that front. And then this is everything I just explained. So Crystal Conflict, by the way, will have casual, ranked, and custom matches available. The custom matches, I think, are going to be a lot of fun in particular, especially for free companies that are just looking to do something that are kind of chill. Now, it is worth noting, by the way, for those distinctive PvP actions, those are not Crystal Conflict. If you look here in the bottom right, above changes to actions will apply to all PvP content. A lot of people miss that. This is not a Crystal Conflict specific thing. All of Frontlines, all of Rival Wings, and Crystal Conflict will all have that distinctive PvP action job specific adrenaline rush thing. So bear that in mind. I almost forgot to make mention of that. And then skill-based matchmaking. We'll see about that, seeing how the feast works now. And then this is just explaining the thing starts in the middle, you push it across to the other side of the map, to the enemy team's base, and you win. It's a payload, essentially. But Splatoon, again, I think has this specific one where both teams are doing it at the same time. And that's it. You just fight for possession of it. You know, you defeat the enemy team to open up opportunities to push it. And if you push it in the goal, you win. There's like 4 different maps also, and each of the different maps has a different layout that the crystal has to travel between, which means there's different like ways to take advantage of the arena's layout itself. But they also have distinct traps and effects that can occur that you can use to your advantage to try and win over the enemy team. Bomberman explosions here is one of them. This is something specific to this map where you can trigger these explosions and these traps that do massive damage in this kind of cross pattern. So I'm curious to see what the other maps are. I love having maps with personality. I think it's a huge thing where you can have a map, have those things that people really, really want to think about and want to interact with. We don't have that right now. That they try to add personality to maps in like really small ways now. And it kind of doesn't work in my opinion. I think this will be better because it's smaller, it's contained, and it's faster paced. So decisions with those things will feel a lot more involved. Now for rewards, seasonal rewards are going to be largely the same. You'll get a ranking reward on your place and a ranking reward based on your tier. There's titles, achievements, other things. This is probably almost exactly the same as it is now. The big thing that's changing is the overall PvP rewards, which is going to like a battle pass system style, where as long as you're PvPing, you're getting progress towards rewards for that season. So they're calling them series, and these are not purchased battle passes, by the way. These are just every series this will reset. There's no addition. I know I'm saying battle pass. There's no additional cost for these. These are just the name that they're giving them. They're calling them series, which is a tentative name. And basically, as you PvP in any mode at all, you earn points that will complete the series battle pass. The diamonds will give you a currency that you can use to purchase rewards, and the stars will give you series specific rewards, which can be gear, mounts, or other items. Now, the big thing they confirmed here is when people hear these series, they think of FOMO. They think, oh, if I don't play that series, I can't get that reward. They already addressed that. The currency you get from the special tokens, eventually you can use that to purchase old series rewards. So if you don't start playing the game till 2 years from now, you can still go back and earn those old series things from when you weren't playing. So the FOMO is not really there. If you just want to collect a few tokens here or there every series and pick up things as you see that you like them, you're totally free to do that. You do not have to participate in every single series to get every single reward. You just might wait a little bit. It's like missing a seasonal event almost. You know, eventually you'll have the ability in some capacity to get it, but for this, it's just as long as you're collecting the special tokens, you should be okay. Honestly, I'm a huge fan of this kind of system. I think when they're done really well, battle passes are a good way of encouraging people to play, as long as you're not using them to subsequently rip people off, because that's kind of how they're used in a lot of games nowadays. And that's not how they want to use them. They just want to encourage people to participate in any PvP at all. It doesn't have to be Crystal Conflict, by giving them consistent, updated rewards. Now, we don't know how long a series will be yet. They don't seem to know exactly how they want to do it. They labeled out 2 different examples here where, like, maybe a season could last the same time as a series, or maybe they could do 2 seasons in a series. Now, they haven't really figured out the timeline for it yet, but consistent rewards, encouraging people to participate in PvP, good thing. Now they just got to nail the gameplay aspect, and we might have something fun on our hands. Also worth mentioning here, the special tokens, they do carry over between every single series, in case you were worried about that. And here it says previous series rewards will eventually be available via token exchange. Now they're also adding a profile system with a calling card tentative name, where basically this is like a Call of Duty profile. I guess there's a lot of games that have this kind of system, but it's a customizable profile where you can earn backgrounds and customization options from PvPing or doing other things. You can earn these rewards from like maybe raiding or crafting or dungeons or things like that. So it's another like form of glam. Essentially, you want to have that really nice looking profile card that people can find whenever they search you, or maybe on the lodestone, which they just updated. Also a fan of these. Monster Hunter Guild cards is another good example of something you could compare this to. So, big fan of that. Now, one big thing, the feast, they told us this. They told us the feast was going away. They didn't know if it would be indefinite, but as of right now, feast will be available till 6.1 without a season, and then it'll be gone. The wolf collars will stay. Don't throw those out. And if you have those, don't throw those out. They're going to continue to use them for rank stuff. So just bear that in mind. Now for crafting and gathering stuff, this was mostly just elaboration on what they're doing with high quality stuff. For example, they went over again, you can't gather HQ items, and they're going to remove a bunch of like interactions with HQ items. So, and make sure anything that required HQ items before is still completable now. Now for crafting, they're going to change around some actions, new actions and existing actions will be adjusted. They're going to adjust the way the stats actually work with expecting to have all normal quality stuff. So obviously they need to make sure that the difficulty doesn't drastically increase just because you cannot have HQ items. I don't think that's not going to be that bad. Most people can do most of the serious crafts without all HQ items or without any. Just requires a bit of knowledge or a really good macro. Further adjustments will be made so the difficulty of HQ crafting will not increase. So it won't be harder. That's the big thing to note. For mining and botany, perception will now occasionally give you the chance of triggering Gatherer's Boon, which will increase the yield of your next hit by 1. And actions that used to increase high quality rate will now increase the chance of proccing Gatherer's Boon. So it's all quantity related. Perception just gets you more of the item instead of it being higher quality. For fishing, obviously a different story because mooching is a big part of the way fishing works. And as such, they're basically adding HQ fish without having HQ fish. Basically, you can catch a large version of the same fish and then you can mooch with that. That's realistically, it'll feel exactly the same. Fishing will just not have HQ fish, but everything will look and feel the same. And perception will affect fish collectability now, for those of you who are looking to do that. They're also updating spearfishing, if it would load, and making it a mini game where you basically just press the button as the fish go by. You get like chain bonuses and stuff like that, and you just try to stab the fish every time you go to the thing. See, you'll just have to go in and you'll stab the fish, and then you'll get the rewards at the end, making it more involved. But I wonder if they're going to update it. Are we going to get another jig? What do we have, like level 67 jig right now or something like that? I don't even know. And they didn't explain that. So all we know is spearfishing is going to be a minigame now. That's what the adjustments are. Players will now directly utilize the harpoon, and it comes with a special minigame. Now this one's a big one. So if you've heard about people making Gill-off coffee biscuits, well, they did warn us very recently that wouldn't be the case much longer. And here's the result of that. The amount of Gil rewarded per leave quest will be adjusted in light of Gil inflation. So they're going to be nerfing the amount of Gil and EXP you get from super hand-ins, where you do like 3 hand-ins of 3. And they're also going to be buffing the ones that are just a single hand-in leave quest. So that way, you know, everything's kind of balanced out. You know, all the leave quests are balanced. And while you can still earn Gil from these, you probably won't be earning 20,000 Gil per turn-in like you are with coffee biscuits or mithril files or anything like that. So enjoy it while it lasts. They gave you 2 extra weeks. So get that Gil now before it goes away. Then they did system adjustments. Some of this is just clarification. Obviously, they're lowering the numbers for EXP as well. This is the same as the stat squish. It's not speeding it up. It's just reducing. It even says the time to require to level up will remain unchanged. It's just the actual numbers. They're just stat squishing the numbers on that. Now, if you're in the middle of a level right now, like let's say you're level 67, and you're halfway through the level, but you don't finish that level before Endwalker comes out, they have to basically overwrite your database, which they use exact numerical values to do. And as such, they're going to completely reset your progress on that level. It's like a dungeon or a roulette at worst. It's like 20 to 30 minutes of your time. But they just wanted you to be aware of that, so don't be surprised. If you have any unfinished levels, it'll just go to 0 value out of that level. So 67.5 just becomes 67. So not anything that big. New Allegan Tomestones, we have the name Aphorism and Astronomy. Aphorism are uncapped. You can earn 2,000, or you can earn and hold up to 2,000 of them at any time, as long as you're doing level 90 content. And Astronomy is weekly capped and will be introduced at the same time as Pandemonium Savage, which will be on January 4th of 2022. They showed off some armor sets. We got the Paladin set here. These are the Astronomy sets, by the way. I'm sorry, these are the Aphorism sets. So they made these Final Fantasy IV themed sets for the uncapped tombstones. So if you like them for their appearance, you don't have to worry about weekly capping in order to earn them. So, you know, we've got Cecil, we've got Cecil again, I believe. We've got Edge here, you know, that's the ninja one. We've got Edge adjacent with this one right here, that's Samurai. You've got everyone's favorite Spoony Bard in that of Edward. You've got Rydia here for the summoner gear. As a Lalafell. These are all Final Fantasy IV characters who haven't played before. And I think this is Tella? Yeah, I think that's Tella. That's not Rosa. I think that's Tella. And you can see Foxlon's not really sure either because of the Roth card. Oh, man. And another big change is the amount of tombstones you need, tombstones of astronomy specifically, in order to get a weapon will be reduced from 1,000 to 500. Now, you still need either like 7 weeks for the token, or you need the token from Savage, but it makes getting a weapon for your alts a lot more approachable if you're somebody who does do Savage. You can easily pick up a quick, just normal tombstone weapon, an unupgraded one, and it's only going to cost you just barely over 1 week, just barely 2 weeks worth of capped tombstones in order to do it. Makes it weird because it's way less expensive than the body and the legs now, but either way, I think it'll be a good change in the long run for people who like to multi-job for raids or want to make use of those tombstone upgrade mats that tend to just get kind of overlooked a lot when it comes to hardcore raiders. We do also have some of the Pandemonium sets. We can see it right here. Is that a Paladin? Where's the shield? Oh, maybe they're glamming the shield away. Oh, that's a Paladin sword, right? I think that's a Paladin sword. We have the Reaper Scythe and the maiming gear that you can see right here. It's weird that the Pandemonium stuff is all like super bright. And then they said, I think this was crafted. This reminds me of Alma, but I think there is an Alma set already. So I guess it's not. I guess it just kind of reminds me of it. And then also Omega M and F gear. So I'm willing to bet this is a reward from a Super Fate. Similar to like how the Toad suit is a reward from Super Fates or like Ixion and stuff. We saw Giant Omega in the benchmark, and we don't know anything about that Omega yet, story-wise, but it would make sense for Omega M and F's physical appearance, the gear stuff, to come from that Super Fate. So that's my prediction of where this will actually come from. They also confirmed that new hairstyles are going to be coming to female Viera in 6.0, and Hrothgar's will get changes in 6.1 and beyond. And male Viera is created with a more recent system, so they don't have as bad of a restrictions on their hairstyles. So you can see a few here. Some of them, most of them are existing ones that are now being given to Viera. You can see that especially as you get over to this one. They can finally use the lightning hairstyle. They can use the 2B hairstyle, as you can see right here. And even the 9S hairstyle. There you go. So just more hairstyle options, and Hrothgar will get more later as well. Purple scripts. Okay, that's cool. Scripts, new color. It's like tombstones. No one cares. The new achievement UI, you may have seen this from the people at the media tour, anyone who actually opened the menu and reported on it. And it just looks nicer, looks cleaner, looks more like a journal, as they said. And you'll also be able to have near completion and recommended tabs that will be a little more useful in case you're wondering what you could be working on or things that you're almost done with. What else did they show? They showed off here's the collector's edition mount, or the digital collector's edition mount, I believe. Flew around Thavner a bit, talked about that a bit. Nothing fancy. There's some great coverage on that from other people who attended the media tour. Showed off a few minions. We got the Palom or the Porum. Can't tell, it's not zoomed in. We got a little reindeer. Got a picnic basket. I assume it's a Charlian picnic basket. We have a crab. We have a little slime-looking thing right there. We have a bat. Is that a keys or a bat? And if you call the bat keys, what do you call the keys? Bats? Some of you will get that reference. G-pose can be activated while using an instrument. The back on your feet free company action is going to be changed to extends sprint duration within cities. No more having lower weakness timers for raids, and no mention of them adjusting that. So I guess it's just gone. It was a weird advantage to have that free companies could have. So I kind of understand it, but I hope that makes it like perma sprint. Please? If we can't use mounts, please. They're also adding, I forgot about this already. They're adding loot boxes to the Grand Company Seal Exchange. They'll have minions and mounts in them, but they'll also have plenty of fireworks. I hope you enjoy those indigo stars. But yeah, if you have spare Grand Company Seals now, you can throw them at that and hope you get a mount or a minion. This was weird too. There's a service, a third-party service you can spend $20 on now that gives you like 3D audio, kind of like the PlayStation 5, but not entirely, for the game. You pay $20 one time, and then you can install it in your 14 client, and it gives you 360-degree audio. They explain it and go into way more detail. Soken, of course, super excited about it. And I'll probably get it. It's a one-time pack. Who cares, right? I'll just buy it once. But it's just weird to me to have this like third-party add-on that you can buy. But who knows? Maybe they'll start selling like real add-ons. Who knows? Maybe that's the next thing. They talked a little bit more about housing. There's not a whole lot of information on this that we didn't already kind of know. You can walk around the Imperium, which is the new Ishgard housing area, starting at 6.0, but you can't actually buy a house till 6.1. 24 wards and 24 subdivisions means 1,440 new houses, which of course is not going to be enough. They also changed the way that you actually relocate. You can no longer relocate if a house is not available to everyone. So you know how sometimes people are like spamming a placard and then somebody who wants to relocate just walks up and takes the house. That can't happen anymore. It has to be available. They would have to stand at the placard and spam it like everyone else, but even that's not the case anymore. But just using that as an example, it has to be available for relocation to be possible. Land devaluation will also be removed. Honestly, I kind of forgot it was a thing because houses just go super quick nowadays. No longer be possible to grant brand new free company members authorization to purchase land or the rank of FC Master. This is to prevent selling houses by using small 4-person FCs because you just couldn't sell it. The person would have to be committed to your free company for a given period of time. I'd assume at least 30 days. They actually don't say right here. But you can't just, invite someone and be like, oh, I'm buying this house. And then they just pass you lead and then they just leave the free company and the house is all yours. And then, of course, the lottery system for earning houses will be implemented as well. Now, originally they said they'd have some remaining, first come, first serve houses, but they seem to say that they're kind of still on the fence about it. They might go full lottery system for this in the future, which I'm kind of a fan of because it's kind of weird to have a little bit of both. For entering a lottery, they've been over this a little bit before, but this is in more detail. You need to have at least one class or job at level 50 or above. You need to be a second lieutenant in the Grand Company, and you cannot have another character on the same service account that owns a plot on the same world. But you can relocate using the lottery system as well, and in fact, that's how you will relocate now. Moving forward, for a free company plot, it's pretty much the same rules as buying one now. You need to be a member of the free company with authorization. You need to have a high enough rank. You need to have at least 4 members. And another character on the same server must not own as a buyer an FC plot on the same world. So kind of the similar restrictions to what they have now. So the way it'll work with the lottery is there's going to be a several day period where people can go up to a house and put basically a deposit down to enter the lottery. And you can only pick one house in that time, and then that's the house you're committing to. They said you can actually change the house as long as it's during the lottery period, but once you've made the deposit and it enters the second period, the land acquisition period, where it picks a winner and gives you the chance to redeem it, then you can't change. You got to wait for the next lottery period. The big thing is you have to basically put a deposit down for the entire cost of the land right from the get-go. So each player may only enter lottery for one plot of land at a time. Lottery entries will take place at each empty plot's placard. So you have to go up to the placard and enter the lottery. They pay the full price of the plot upon entry. If you are not selected, then you will have 90 days to claim your refund. So you just have to go to, I think they said it was the placard. It was either the placard or an NPC where you can claim your refund. So you don't lose the money permanently. And players cannot withdraw after entering a lottery. So that's the big thing. They made it seem like in this first one, like you have kind of an adjustment period if maybe there's a different house you want to grab. But it also says players cannot withdraw after entering. So just be safe. Pick the plot you really want to enter for. But once you enter, you're locked in. So don't make that decision lightly. Land acquisition, the winning entrant will be confirmed via the plot's placard, so go there to check to see if you've actually won. And then you'll have the rest of the land acquisition period to actually claim it, or it forfeits the land and it puts it up on the next lottery period. Also, if you win and you don't accept the land, then you only get 50% of your purchase price back. That's to discourage people from abusing the system to some capacity. Players who did not win the lottery will receive a full refund. Another big thing they actually confirmed is that if you are somebody who is going up to places, basically just kind of gambling on whether or not you win, and then constantly turning the land down, that is going to net you some trouble with some GMs. They do not want people just randomly gambling on winning, but then just not take it, just to grief everyone. Oh, this house isn't going to be available for a few more days. I didn't actually want it. I just wanted to see if I would win it. And it's funny because I posed that exact question right before they confirmed that. So don't do that because you can get reported for it. So you do not want to be that person. And that was all they said for the housing update. Then they said for the Oceania data centers, currently planned for February 2022, and the data center will be called Materia. There will be free world transfers and more bonuses available, as there usually are with brand new worlds like they have had in the past. They also confirmed that they were not going to talk about Island Sanctuary, because it's not part of the 6.0 patch. It's part of 6.xx content across the entire expansion, but they will talk about it in the future. They showed off a new housing type as well, and a new one that looks like kind of like an outdoor cafe and stuff like that. Then they reiterated, this is our new update schedule. The game's pre-orderable. There will be a patch note reading on the 2nd. There is the Endwalker single, a vinyl for it, which is only 28 USD and will be released on Wednesday, November 17th. I should probably go pre-order that. There's going to be a comic book available. Saki and Final Fantasy XIV series from Manga Up will be available in Japan for 660 yen, super cheap. And then this April Fool's joke with the high school life of the Final Fantasy XIV cast is a reality now. Academia Eorzea will be available in December 2021 in Japan, and it'll basically be taking the characters, the Scions, and other characters as well, and putting them in a high school setting. Oh boy. They also make mention that in 6.1, a long-time no-see character will be returning. And then that was it for the broadcast. So thank you again to Aluna Minoria for posting all these slides. It made doing this video super easy. And the Reddit Discord is always where I go for unofficial translations, but this one was officially translated. So the translation team was not on standby. That's why I'm filling in all the details of stuff that we actually heard. I'm sure there are other small details I missed, so be sure to include those in the comment section of the video if I did not mention them. It was 6 hours worth of content, so please don't be mad at me if I don't remember absolutely everything. Yeah, we gotta make some videos about some of this stuff. Launch trailer video, PvP video, and the release date delay video. I think it deserves its own video because a lot of people won't click on this and won't know, and there's going to be a lot of surprises over the next couple weeks. But thank you again for watching. Sorry this video came out super late. Live letter was 6 hours. My internet didn't work all morning, but I'm here. I'm good to go. And let's keep the content rolling and the excitement rolling until December 3rd. Anyway, thanks for watching. Be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, and share. Comment down below. Helps with the algorithm. And of course, discuss everything that you had here. And I'll see all of you in the next video. Until then, take care.